Hey everyone, this is Elizabeth with World's Cup of Joe. Awaken your soul. Welcome to our Sunday Soul Love Through Literature series. In this series, we discuss twin flame connections found in literature. There's so many novels out there that reflect this unique soul love, and we wanted to share our interpretations of these connections with you. We hope this series brings you a new perspective of characters you may be familiar with already, but may never have attributed a twin flame connection to before. This is our chance to delve into a topic we love to discuss, twin flames, because it was the single most important catalyst that changed our lives for the better. And hopefully we can bring with it the gift of soul love through literature. Let's recap part 3 of this series. Part 3 of our Soul Love Through Literature series shows Mr. Rochester inviting Jane to spend time with him. He admits he is in a talkative mood and there's no one else in the house that he would like to have a conversation with. He keeps asking her to get a little bit closer in her chair next to him, as well as tries to get to know her better, and continues to address her as an equal and not of a subordinate. Now I'll set the stage for today's episode. Jane is outside on the grounds playing with Adele when Mr. Rochester comes out and meets them. On this occasion, when they start talking, he reveals to Jane and confides in her the backstory of Adele and how she came to be in his care. He tells her that he had been in love with a French singer. One night, while waiting to surprise her in her hotel room, he sees her get out of a carriage with another man that she's been intimate with. Although this woman told Mr. Rochester that Adele was his child, he didn't believe it, and nothing about the child's appearance indicated a resemblance to him. But when the woman abandoned Adele to flee to Italy, he took her in and cared for her. Now, with that backdrop of what is being discussed in this chapter, we will go ahead and continue Soul Love Through Literature. Part 4, The Connection Intensifies. First quote, "You never felt jealousy, did you, Miss Eyre?" "Oh, of course not. I need not ask you, because you never felt love. You have both sentiments yet to experience. Your soul sleeps. The shock is yet to be given which shall awaken it." Mr. Rochester has just described the story of Adele's mother and being betrayed by this French singer to Jane, and he is explaining his own feelings and behavior with how he responded to the situation. He explained his feelings of jealousy that had been aroused by her and wants to see if Jane can sympathize, but realizes she has not partaken in any kind of romantic involvement before. I included this quote for the last line. "You have both sentiments yet to experience. Your soul sleeps. The shock is yet to be given which shall awaken it." This is foreshadowing at its finest. It is the line, "Your soul sleeps," that sticks out. Before I met my person, my soul was asleep. In fact, I refer to my former self as my asleep self, versus now I refer to myself as my awakened self. This connection creates the momentum and the circumstances that allows you to awaken. This awakening is to allow you to shed the mind or the ego and get closer to soul, which is your truest self. This journey brings with it the dark night of the soul, which is the death of ego. It is painful, but it is the ultimate hallmark or initiation rite of passage into your awakening. But now let me clarify. In the twin flame connection, only the positive polarity or the push polarity will experience an awakening. The negative polarity or the pull runner in the connection will stay asleep. Mr. Rochester in this case is almost foreshadowing his future awakening and dark night of the soul, but telling Jane she will be the one to be awakened. He then says, "The shock is yet to be given which will awaken it." To those that have experienced their dark night, you know this is a shock unlike anything else. It truly does awaken your soul. Next quote. Mark my words, you will come someday to a craggy pass of the channel where the whole of life's streams will be broken up into whirl and tumult, foam and noise. Either you will be dashed to atoms on crag points, or lifted up and borne on by some master wave into a calmer current. I love this quote because it's Mr. Rochester basically telling Jane that the soul's awakening or a period of separation will either shatter you or bring you to calmer waters. How true this is. This journey is so painful and difficult, and being stuck in the addictive energy is like continuously hitting and bruising your body against hard rocks and hating every moment of it, but at the same time not knowing how to get out of that water. But once you learn how to balance the energy, it's like this big burst of life-saving energy has lifted you into safety or peace. Once you find those calm waters, there may be a few more rocks here and there, but you can always find your way back to the calm again. That is what balancing feels like. That is what soul alignment feels like. Next quote. Strange that I should choose you for the confidant of all this. As I intimated once before, you with your gravity, considerateness, and caution were made to be the recipient of secrets. Besides, I know what sort of a mind I have placed in communication with my own. It is a peculiar mind. It is a unique one. The more you and I converse, the better. For while I cannot blight you, you may refresh me. Mr. Rochester. It is not strange that Mr. Rochester finds her so easy to share secrets with. When you meet your twin, it feels like they are the first person to see you for who you really are. And they do. They see you through the eyes of soul. There is no judgment from them, only soul love. When Mr. Rochester divulges his very intimate and personal past with her, he knows he can trust her with this information. She won't judge him or look upon him differently. And notice that he says he knows what kind of mind he has placed in communication with his own. It is a unique one. Yes, Mr. Rochester, that is because she is you. It is your soul. That is why you trust her so explicitly and feel how different she is from everyone else. Now let's go a little deeper in the last part of this quote. He says no matter what he tells her, he cannot damage her, but she can refresh him. Doesn't it feel this way as the positive polarity at times? I'm going to change this part of the dialogue to reference energy rather than words that are spoken. No matter what mood or energy we are in, the pole polarity always remains extremely consistent. They can affect our energy on the dime because our energy is so quick to shift, but their energy is always the same. My person's energy never really changes towards me. He never starts arguments. He is always loving. It is just if my energy pushes that he retracts, but he never initiates the change in energy. That is always me. And that feeling of refreshment that Mr. Rochester mentions, don't you feel refreshed after talking to your person, or even after just being in their presence? It's a huge energy change. Next quote. It was not till after I had withdrawn to my own chamber for the night that I steadily reviewed the tale Mr. Rochester had told me. I turned to the consideration of my master's manner to myself. The confidence he had thought fit to repose in me seemed a tribute to my discretion. I regarded and accepted it as such. I included this quote merely to show you where Jane's head is at up to this point of the story. You can tell how intimate and fast Mr. Rochester's feelings have progressed, but Jane is still quite naive in understanding the depths of his feelings towards her. She only attributes her discretion as the reason he places such trust and confidence in her. Next quote. The ease of his manner freed me from painful restraint. The friendly frankness, as correct as cordial, with which he treated me, drew me to him. I felt at times as if he were my relation rather than my master. Jane Eyre. This is where we start getting a glimpse into Jane's feelings that have started to change towards Mr. Rochester. Him being so friendly towards her has lessened her wanting to be formal, and she started feeling drawn towards him. She commented that she felt like he was more family than employer. Next quote. So happy, so gratified did I become with this new interest added to life that I ceased to pine after kindred. The blanks of existence were filled up. My bodily health improved. I gathered flesh and strength. And was Mr. Rochester now ugly in my eyes? No, reader. Gratitude and many associations, pleasurable and genial, made his face the object I best liked to see. His presence in a room was more cheering than the brightest fire. Yet I had not forgotten his faults. Indeed, I could not, for he brought them frequently before me. He was proud, sardonic, harsh to inferiority of every description. In my secret soul, I knew that his great kindness to me was balanced by unjust severity to many others. Jane Eyre. Holy smokes, I'm so excited to end this episode with this passage. There is so much emotional movement on Jane's end that needs to be unpacked here. In the first part of the quote, she is explaining that Mr. Rochester has made her so happy that she no longer placed an emphasis on having family members, an intense focus that had always left her feeling unfulfilled. Having a lovely family was something that she had always wanted more than anything, and now that her focus had been shifted to being content just being near him, she, as the negative polarity, is entering the bubble phase with Mr. Rochester, the one where she is happy and in love with him as much as he is her. Now, not only does Jane find him attractive, but his face is the best thing she could see. When the positive polarity is aligned with soul, this is true of all poles. They can only see their twin through soul's eye, and that is pure unconditional love. That's because they see the energy, and that is what is drawing them in. Soul feels soul. But look at her last line in this passage. It highlights her being the runner. She says she cannot forget his faults. Then she names what they are. Notice the qualities she identifies are all mind. The negative polarity will always see mind's lower vibrational energies and pull from them. She finishes the passage by saying that despite him being so wonderful to her, he balances his moods out by being unjust to others. This is so true of the push polarity. We will always be loving and wonderful to our twin, but everyone around us will feel the wrath of the addictive energies. We get triggered and we don't know how to release the energy, so it often gets released as anger on those around us. It's not intentional, but it does happen. Once you balance your energy, your mood is peace, love, and joy for everyone because you share soul with all around you and not just mind anymore. This is where we will conclude this episode. Thank you for joining me in this week's Soul Love Through Literature. I will see you next week for part 5 of our discussion. Is Jane Eyre actually a novel about a twin flame union? Have an amazing week.